Hi friends, welcome to the Anime Book Club podcast. I'm your host, DJ Montague.
And I'm your host, Greg. And here we review anime from classics to brand new stuff, hidden gems, and controversial favorites.
You'll hear all of our hot takes, rants,
and genius observations. So thanks for tuning in, and buckle up because the episode starts now.
By the way, friends, these episodes contain spoilers, so be careful and don't ruin this anime for yourself. You've been warned. Hi, friends! Welcome, everybody, to the Anime Book Club podcast. Just what a wonderful week of anime. Welcome in, everybody. Glad you're here. Thank you for listening on Spotify, YouTube, and all the different things. Thank you for listening live on twitch.tv/DJ Montague. This is all part of the intro, Greg. Don't worry, I'm getting to it. I'm your host, DJ Montague, purveyor of headless wood sculptures and frequenter of beaches, not real beaches, but like beaches on the internet. DJ Montague, hello. And this is my co-host, Greg. Go ahead and do your thing.
My name is Greg, suffering from a paranormal impairment, rumored to have girls crushing on me, but they were all lies, and no one is crushing on me whatsoever, and holder and keeper of the inflatable salamander, big smart, large D, Jesus, 6'7".
6'7", great. It has infiltrated the boomerest podcast that we could possibly create. Greg, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your wonderful intros because they're so much better than mine.
No, yours was pretty good.
You like ChatGPT announce yourself in comparison to what I just did.
Greg, large D is the undisputed king.
Literally right before we started recording, friends, just so you are aware, I needed to write a DJ bio. I wrote one, and then I had ChatGPT write a couple for me. The first one that ChatGPT wrote is far superior than anything I could ever write in my entire life. Very unfortunate. It made me mad, but the second one was not great. We're either going to use the first one ChatGPT wrote or what I wrote, which is a bunch of gibberish. I basically just slammed my hands on the keyboard, and that's what came up. So, Greg, how are you feeling about anime lately? You went to Youmacon. You enjoyed your weekend. Tell me about all of the things that you experienced.
I did go to Youmacon over the weekend. This is Detroit's premier 4-day anime convention, 20th anniversary of this convention. Yeah, it was good.
Okay. What else? What happened, Greg? What did you do? Did you buy some fucking stuff? What'd you do?
No, I didn't buy anything. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Fuck, dude. So good.
No, okay. All right. So prior to the con, right? So technically it went from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday is kind of like a half day. You can go in and stand in line at will call to pick up your badges and everything. Yeah. And they had a few panels on Thursday. So my friend, and you know, it's funny, like this is like a whole new world to me. And after talking to them a little bit, I will use his Instagram handle, which is Hollow Piece.
Okay.
My boy, he had a little shindig at his house that he invited me to, which was super nice. And at the shindig, there were lots of interesting, great people. But yeah, there were a lot of cosplayers and a lot of photographers. And I learned a lot about the industry as a whole. It's kind of like My Dress Up Darling, kind of like 2.5 dimensional seduction. Like I learned a lot because I don't know anything about that world, the cosplay world, the photography world. I'll say cosplay photography in particular. I don't really know anything of those worlds or how they work. Apparently, I was amongst some pretty influential, strong people in the community.
Seasoned vets, as they say.
Yes.
Veterans of the dance floor, in fact.
Of the cosplay floor.
Okay.
Like international invitation level.
Oh, shit.
Cosplay
Okay.
stuff.
All right. He was hanging out with, like, Jessica Nagiri, and he's like, oh, hey, yeah, I've never heard of you. And then she was like, shut the fuck up, you've never heard of me? Wow, that's new. And then...
No, of course I've heard of you, Google.com, Jessica. Of course I've heard of you.
I don't think he was. Maybe he was. I don't know. But I'm not going to ask him to dox the people he was hanging out with.
Yeah. By not saying certain things, I think I can say this to not dox anybody. But one of the individuals apparently was one of the judges at Evo for the cosplay competition that happened at Evo this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's sick.
And I saw their cosplays and I'm just like, dude, this is on a whole different level. And I mean, I learned a lot about VTubing.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about gacha games. Apparently, Uma Musume is really popular.
It is.
Goddess of Victory Nikkei is super popular. Like,
Yep.
they were teaching me all sorts of stuff that I involved myself in, like, in the slightest. I was like a fly on the wall in this brand new world that I've never been in.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I hung out with my boy, and everyone else was pretty much doing their own thing. They all had photo shoots that they had scheduled, and I just kind of hung out. Really, I didn't do anything too noteworthy. I didn't go to any panels that were too noteworthy. I mean, lots of good cosplay, fun times.
Okay.
The con was good.
That sounds wonderful. I'm glad you were able to jam out and engage in the nerddom. It's hard to get fun groupings like that together. That sounds wonderful, Greg.
I like the con, right? And this has nothing to do with the company I was with or the con itself. What I'm about to say is my internal, emotional, mental problem with myself. I feel lost when it comes to the cons. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do or what I'm even looking for necessarily while I'm there. And I know that's probably fine, right? Just kind of going with the flow and letting the energy take you, and you just kind of are there experiencing it, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not really like my personality. Normally, my personality is if there's a party or if there's something going on, I want to provide some sort of value.
Right.
I want to be doing something. I don't just want to be partaking of the energy and not giving anything in return. Now, I mean, selfishly, right? If they have everything coordinated and they don't need extra help or they don't need me to do anything, right? That's not their fault. They planned a good get together, a good party, a good con. So there's really nothing for me to do. But I get anxious if I'm not able to contribute at all. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when I'm at the con, that's kind of where my mental state is at. Everyone's having a great time. Everyone's doing their thing. Everyone's cosplaying. Everyone has their own little cliques and their niches that they're in. And I'm just kind of there, for better or for worse.
You're there Gregging about. I also, like, when I'm at a party that I was invited to, but I'm not like... I also have that feeling. I think that's just the introvert nature of us, Greg, because I want to feel like I belong in these parties, but unless I'm doing something to provide for the party, bartending or like telling a story or DJing or whatever it is, I feel like I'm not truly a part of the party because I also feel that I don't bring enough.
Like, it could be anything. Like, I'll fucking clean the toilets, dude. I'll do the dishes. Like, it doesn't matter, like, what it is. Just
let me help, please. I just want to be a part of your friendship. Please just let me be your friend.
And that's the thing, even with the storytelling, because I feel like that's one of my stronger, I guess, attributes is the whole communication thing or whatever. Even then, it's like, what they were talking about, like, I didn't even know what the fuck was happening. They were talking about different Nikkei girls and VTubers graduating and all sorts of stuff.
I mean, that stuff is like, you have to be real with yourself, Greg. That stuff is super niche. That is very isolated.
It's nothing against them talking about it or whatever. I was just super out of my element, and I wish I could have contributed, but I just felt so far detached from anything that I knew that I just kind of let the wave take me, and I was... You know, unfortunately, I felt like I was of little value.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You know, when you go to a party and everybody's like the cosplayer doing the thing and talking about their niche in-group things, that's kind of like going out to the club. Everybody has their cliques and everybody has their groups that they go out with. And they have their own in-jokes. They have their own things. And when you're trying to talk to someone else from another group, especially as like a single adult, like going over and be like, hey, can I buy you a drink? I know you're with these girls over here. I'll buy you all a drink or whatever. I just want to talk to you. It's always this awkward push and pull of like, really, what are we doing here? Meeting people and ingratiating yourself into a new group is so difficult in the world in general. To bring it back to us, this is why we created the space. Obviously, we have our own in-jokes, but we want people to feel like they do belong to the anime community, whether they watch the same exact shows as everybody else, One Piece, Bleach, My Dress Up Darling, whatever it is, or don't, and they still just enjoy anime. We want people to feel like they have a sense of, okay, I'm accepted here. I can make jokes here. I feel comfortable here. But continue. You were saying, so you had the party on Thursday, and so what did you do Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, went to the con, and I was kind of hanging out with the group. I was just kind of in the background. And it was really interesting because I got to see how they were doing the shoots, like the places that they take pictures. And a lot of it was just like finding the aesthetic that they were looking for. They're like, okay, we need something industrial. So they went to the area where they service the elevators and shit. Like, probably we're not supposed to be there, but at the same time, it's fitting the vibe that they're going for whatever the cosplay shoot they're doing. Other people wanted kind of like a post-apocalyptic kind of, you know, I don't want to say like construction site, but kind of like, you know, like a messed up. And good thing in Detroit, like you can find that all everywhere.
It's third world country out here. It's fucking dilapidated everywhere. It looks like Armageddon has hit.
And it was just really interesting to see. And, you know, I'm just holding bags and walking around and watching everybody work.
I mean, you had fun, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, shit, Greg.
I had fun. Through the anxiety and like my own like self-loathing and just like depression of being completely fucking useless. Yeah, it was fun. It was great.
Literally, just so everyone at home is listening, and like Greg is this person. This is not a character. This is Greg. This is who he is. I literally messaging Greg earlier while I'm making some food, and I'm like just making up self-deprecating things as I'm continuing to send him a message, and he's like, that was pretty good, Greg cosplay, but you missed out on the fucking useless and like all these other terrible descriptive words of himself. And I was like, Greg, you are so wonderful. I appreciate you for being who you are. It's just brings a joyous smile to my face. You could be so awful to yourself, but be such a great person.
It's a me problem.
It's
100%.
Well, yeah.
Just so everybody knows, it's a me problem.
Nobody else is making Greg feel bad. It's like everybody likes Greg, but Greg will be like, yeah, I'm fucking stupid. I'll be over here in the corner. I'm going to put my head in the corner of this room and cry. That's the joke that I make. Oh, yeah. No, I suck. I'm sorry. I'm going to go cry myself to sleep. That's what I say all the time.
Yeah, that's your joke, but it's my life.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, Greg.
There we go. Let's keep this moving. Let's keep it moving.
Well, so my experience of cosplay this weekend was pretty good. When I DJ'd at one of the bars that I often play at, I saw an absolutely shredded Asian dude wearing the full Nanami, but he had black hair. And he had the blue shirt, the tie wrapped around his hand. It was perfect. It was literally like perfect cosplay. And I was wearing one of our shirts from IT Aesthetic, or the sweater. I was wearing the sweatshirt of my spoiler alerts for Jujutsu Kaisen, my Maki sweatshirt. And I look at him and I'm like, holy fucking shit, dude. And then I turn around and I point at my sweatshirt and he's like, holy shit, that's so fucking sick. Where did you get that? And I told him about IT Aesthetics. And so I told him to get 10% off. And I do a podcast called the Anime Book Club Podcast. And he was like, holy shit, that's awesome, dude. And then I made a joke and I was like, has any girl come up to you and asked you to grab their bun today? And he's like, no, haven't gotten it here. And I'm like, we're in the wrong bar, my friend. And he's like, we sure are. It was very funny. I hope he had a great night. And that was my experience with cosplay this weekend. Nobody else was really dressed up like any cool characters. That's always so much fun, is to just at the con seeing all the people dressed up. It is a wonderful experience. All the merch is really cool. Just the camaraderie of the anime community coming together to celebrate anime. Love that shit.
My boy, I'm not good at marketing.
What was his Instagram again?
Hollow Piece.
Okay, so crazy fucking story, real quick. There's a very famous cosplayer now that lived in Reno that dated a friend of mine, she used to come to the bar quite a bit. This was eons ago, before she became a famous cosplayer. But apparently, your friend did a photo shoot with her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They've got a fucking talent, dude. Holy shit. Sick as fuck.
So really cool people, really good at what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to kind of be in that company and just to see it was, a privilege for me.
Yeah, that seems like a really awesome experience. Obviously, Greg, once this episode goes live, you'll have to add their Instagrams to the YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that. But yeah, I have met a famous cosplayer before she was a cosplayer. And I'm really glad she's still doing it and doing well. She's got over 500,000 followers on Instagram. That's sick. Go her.
Anyway, we should
talk about
the show. We should talk about the show.
Probably.
I should just literally cut all of this out. I should cut every single second out of this, dude.
Greg, it's forever. We've talked on the air. We've talked about it. We're doing it live. It stays. Greg, if this doesn't stay, I will fight you on Christmas. This is a great experience for me to talk about this stuff and expand my mind.
But yeah, shout outs to my boy, Hollow Piece. He listens every week. He's always caught up.
Hell yeah.
One of the OG always listen.
Thank you.
I appreciate him.
I appreciate the support wholeheartedly. That's an absolutely wonderful piece of news. Thank you. Pinky, there's no way we're getting Jessica Nigiri on the show. There's no fucking way.
If you want to organize it,
you 100%.
She's more than welcome to come on the show.
Yeah.
I'll try to be a good host and actually have really good questions to ask.
Yeah.
All right.
Let us begin. Greg, how are
we should
you
fucking start, dude. Holy
feeling
shit.
about the season finale of The Summer Hikaru Died?
They answered a lot of questions. They didn't answer everything, but I know that they are coming out with a season 2. So I'm looking forward to all of these answers that I do not have.
That's crazy. I thought this was done. They answered all my questions that I had.
Some of the questions I had are like, who is this company? What is Tanaka's goal?
They don't matter to me. They did everything I needed, so I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Other than that, I think that they wrapped it up pretty well. And like if it kind of ended, like if this was it, I think I would be a little disappointed. But knowing that they will have a season 2 and then there's a hope to answer some of my burning questions, I'm good with it. I just hope it doesn't turn into some weird, like, I don't know what it is in English. Corpse Princess. That's an anime. So I just hope it doesn't somehow turn into that where now Yoshiki is the handler of Hikaru and he's fighting other evil spirits and they're just doing a bunch of shit. But I thoroughly enjoyed The Summer Hikaru Died as a whole.
I also enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, I think they answered all my questions. I was good with how this show wrapped up. I'm glad they're doing a season 2 because I get to watch more insanity unfold on my screen mixed with fart jokes and cats punching people in the face. I feel great. I think that was a great show and a great season of anime to watch all around.
Everyone buckle up. Here we go. So we are actually going to backtrack a tiny bit to episode 9 because we're going to be talking about episodes 10, 11, and 12, the finale of this season. Episode 9, Hikaru and Yoshiki were at Old Man Takeda's place. Old Man Takeda turned into some zombie samurai. Tanaka rolls up, kicks him in the stomach, takes his beat up, busted ass soul cutting sword, and cuts Hikaru's head off.
Yeah, all that happened.
That's how episode 9 ended. So now we are going to go into episode 10, and that is where episode 10 starts off. Hikaru's blob is coming out of his neck hole and out of the bottom of his severed head. And it lunges at Tanaka. And Yoshiki is just in the corner fucking screaming. And Tanaka is laughing. And Yoshiki grabs Hikaru's head and tries to put it back onto his body. But the surge of blob is too great. But eventually the blob goes back in and the head reattaches and the cut heals. And Yoshiki passes out from screaming for 45 minutes straight.
Yeah. That's, I mean, this is really what happened. We watched 45 minutes of
yeah, and Tanaka's just laughing, singing AKB48. Yeah,
having the best time, dude. It was a wild few episodes, but that was episode 9.1 and 9.2. It was crazy.
Yoshiki wakes up at Kibogayama Hospital with his mom there. and a nurse. And she's like, holy shit, is it true old man Takeda attacked you? And Yoshiki is like, fuck, I just got up, Mom, give me a second. And she said the incident was swept under the rug as a minor village feud. And she's like, even if I called the police, ... Yoshiki is like, nah, don't call those cherry tops. Where's Hikaru? And his mom says he's right beside him. And Hikaru is in another hospital bed, and there's a faint line on his neck where he was cut. And his mom says he hasn't woken up yet. Cuts to Tanaka, and he's like, damn, it took forever, but I got lucky. And he smiles, and he's like, for it to show up in this era, and it's even got a sense of identity, and even chose to weaken itself. And he's already making progress towards his ultimate goal. We don't know what his ultimate goal is, which is one of my questions that I hope they answer in season.
I'm sure they will.
Cuts back to the hospital, and Yoshiki is laying there and is like, I guess it takes longer for Hikaru to heal when there's life-threatening damage. Cuts back to Tanaka, and Takeda rolls in and says his dad probably won't survive this, and they said it was a heart attack. And Tanaka said he ran to the scene, but it was too late, and he apologizes. Now, part of me wonders how much Tanaka predicted this, because in episode 9, he went over to the Takeda house and gave old man Takeda the sword and was like, oh yeah, this is like a lucky charm, hold on to this. I don't know why old man Takeda got possessed, but the second he did, he grabbed the sword. So I don't know how much of this was planned by Tanaka and he knew this was going to happen, because he had no remorse just fucking roadhouse spin kicking old man Takeda across the room. Just more mystery.
Yeah.
And then Tanaka is like, hey, have you seen my sunglasses? And Takeda is like, yeah, man, they're right in front of your face. And Tanaka feels around for them and knocks over his drink. And Takeda is like, oh shit, are you blind? And Tanaka is like, guess so. Cuts back to Yoshiki and his mom, and she's like, you ready to go? As he's looking over Hikaru, and he's like, yeah, I guess so. Cuts back to Tanaka, and he says his blindness is a paranormal impairment, but he can see with the sunglasses, and they're from my company, which sucks. And Takeda is like, when did this happen? And he's like, oh, a long time ago. Then he's like, gotta go. And Takeda is like, wait a minute, why are you even here? And he says for work, and the company is looking for a certain something from quote unquote their world.
So we here find out that obviously the company has been involved with this from the beginning. We know from this dude arriving, talking about the company and how much he hates it, but their understanding of the world, the separate world, the underworld, if you will, is vast. And how the fuck do we get glasses that make you see normal human sight? Also, I wonder, like, the question that I have is, like, how do you lose his sight? They say it's a long time ago. That could mean hundreds of years, because he says in this era.
Yeah, and I imagine that the sunglasses are kind of like, here we go, like obscure reference for everyone out there, like Y'shtola from Final Fantasy XIV, where she's blind, but she can see spiritual energy. So I assume that's the same for Tanaka. I don't know if he's actually seeing, like, it's curing his blindness.
Right.
Maybe kind of what
Hikaru can see, like seeing the soul and seeing the energy. Yeah, he's got Daredevil vision, as they say.
100%. Yeah, that's probably a better reference. Daredevil. Yeah. If we put the information from Tanaka and Ray together, we know that the world of the living and the world of the dead are just separated by like a thin veil that apparently fucking has pinholes in it literally everywhere. Yeah. So maybe this quote unquote company is some sort of world of the dead spirit company, and they're trying to find, well, it sounds like they're looking for Hikaru, and Tanaka like hit the lotto and he's like, holy shit, I found him. Yeah. Hopefully is explained a little bit more in season 2, because we don't get too much more explanation on why Tanaka is hunting Hikaru.
Well, my theory on it all is that obviously we learn more about what Hikaru is and isn't. And I think I was right with my last prediction, right, Greg?
He was gay when he came back from the mountain.
I mean, he's fabulous. Have you seen him? He thinks that he's a lot bigger than he is in the storyline. And while he's important, it's not the only thing. It's like, we talked about it with Blade Runner 2049. Season 2 potentially having that callback to that. But we'll talk about that when Season 2 comes out. We don't need to talk about it now.
Yeah.
We can have our questions at the end of the episode. But yeah, I think that the company is like what the American government is to Stranger Things. They definitely know that there's what is it? Oh my God.
The Upside Down?
The Upside Down. That's what it is. Yes. They definitely know that the Upside Down exists. They definitely are experimenting to a certain extent on the Upside Down. I think that the company in this regard has the same thing. And they're looking for a key to be able to cross over to build houses over there, obviously.
Only rental properties, though. You don't want to sell those houses.
Right.
You just want to.
You got to make money from it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Glad we're on the same page, Greg.
The company's actually just BlackRock. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's BlackRock, Palantir combined.
But Takeda is like, I don't care about the company. I want to know your reason. And Tanaka says for Nonuki-sama, and he's going to do something about it. And he's on humanity's side. But he's added a few things to his plate. Cuts to Yoshiki and his mom and Kaoru eating. And his mom is like, Yoshiki, you good? And he's like, yeah. And Kaoru is like, you sure? And is Hikaru good? And he's like, yeah. Yoshiki's mom is like, what were you doing over there anyway? And are you up to no good? And if you need anything, you can come to me. And Yoshiki interrupts and says he's fine, and he excuses himself. And then his dad busts through the front door, worried about Yoshiki, and asks if he is okay. And Yoshiki is like, yeah, I'm good. Cuts to Hikaru in the hospital bed, with the news playing, saying a man in his 20s near Darumazuka Tunnel in Kibogayama Town has gone missing. And the tunnel is a well-known haunted spot. And the man is a bootuber and posted something on the 20th of last month that said, going to Darumazuka. If I survive, I'll upload a video. And Rei and Yoshiki are there by Hikaru's bedside.
He didn't upload, by the way. Also, very similar to me doing my YouTube. I said I would upload more videos. And I haven't because, writer's block or something.
Or you're dead in a tunnel.
I'm dead in a tunnel. Yes, obviously me here. This is me as a ghost.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Rei is like, hey, you know why Darumazuka Tunnel is said to be haunted? And Yoshiki is like, nah. And Rei said, way back in the day, they found human bones there. Like a fucking shit ton. And they were only bones from the torso. After that, they found only arm bones in Udekari and leg bones in Ashidori. And there was a custom to bury people in pieces, but there weren't ever any skulls found. And Yoshiki is like, well, that's weird. Now that I think about it, all the spirits he's seen so far were messed up above the neck. Rei says that the man with the sword, Tanaka, is a mystery and hasn't done anything in 2 days, and she wonders why he's even here. And Yoshiki is like, maybe he's a spirit medium or something. Rei is like, nah, no way. And this thing can't be exorcised. And she said, sure, Hikaru is weaker, but not so much that a human could do anything. And all they can do is physically remove it from the village. And it has a silly cartoon of Hikaru in a car, and she tells Yoshiki to stay alert and run to her house if anything happens, and she'll investigate Tanaka herself. Yoshiki is like, how you do that? And she says she can see more than the average person and knows where to look. Rei thinks spirit medium, or maybe that company sent him. Then Hikaru opens his eyes. Yoshiki is like, oh shit, Hikaru. But Hikaru doesn't seem like himself and stares at Yoshiki and starts to feel blobbing all up in himself. But Rei is like, hey, quit that shit. And she claps and it snaps him out of it and is like, what's your name? What's your number? And Hikaru says his name and he's like, what did I just do? And Yoshiki is like, oh, well, I'm glad you're okay. So basically, Hikaru woke up from his coma and was in full let me suck up on that soul Yoshiki mode.
You can call it monster mode if it's a little bit easier on your
No,
vocabulary.
suck up on that soul mode, I think is better.
Is that the scientific vernacular that we're using?
Yeah. SUOTS mode.
Okay, yeah. All right, yep, yeah. Suck up on that soul mode.
So, yeah, basically Hikaru was trying to, like, possess Yoshiki, and then Rei clapped him in his bed.
Yeah, she clapped the shit out of him, but...
Hikaru has been asleep for 2 days, and he holds his neck and is like, ouch! And Yoshiki is like, I thought you couldn't feel pain. But he says recently he's been able to. Rei is like, Hikaru, you're weaker than before, aren't you? And you feel smaller than the presence she felt on the mountain. And Yoshiki looks at his bloody sternum chip in his pocket and says, it's his fault. Hikaru is like, no, it's fucking not. But you remember the dude with the sword? That's no ordinary sword. And he knew what he was doing. And then Yoshiki has his flashback to playing with the hamster. And Yoshiki is like, I'm a fucking idiot. What if he attacks you again? Hikaru is like, I'll just run away. And if he cuts off my head, just pop it back on. And then jokes it probably comes off way easier now than before. And Rei looks on relieved. And Yoshiki is like, is that line around your neck going to heal? And Hikaru jokes again. And he's like, oh shit, my head really is going to pop off. But then Rei's relief turns into deep thought. They're back at school, and everyone is happy they're okay. And Yuki says that Yuta was the most worried. And he was like, oh, it's so boring without Hikaru. And he denies it, but she's like, nah, you hella said that. Yoshiki is writing something in his notebook, and Yuta is like, what you doing? And he's like, nothing. And Yuta is like, are you researching Unuki-san? And Yoshiki is like, maybe. And Yuta says Unuki was a secret code word they used a long time ago. Back then, they used the code word Unuki, but in today's day and age, they use the code word DJ Montague to get 10% off their order of Gamersups.
Holy shit.
You can go to gamersups.gg and use promo code DJ Montague to get 10% off your limited edition flavor.
That was insane, Greg. That was so sick. Damn, that was out of nowhere. I was like, I'm thinking in my head Oronuki, and I got the picture pulled up, and you just fucking slide that in, dude. That was crazy. Yeah, friends, go use code DJ Montague at checkout.
I'm actually trying to think of a limited edition flavor right now.
Oh, it's Oronuki medicine. It's definitely eating mercury straight. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do not do that. Anyone at home.
That's actually worse than anything I've said.
Yeah. Please don't do that. It will.
Mine were just funny. Yours are like
that was dark.
Partially kind of serious.
Yeah, no, that was fucked up. I'm sorry.
I heard that the Romans actually drank mercury way back in the day to clean themselves out.
I imagine it would clean themselves out all the way up until their death, which would be pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think they stopped doing it after a while, but I think they did it to basically purge the bowels.
Nate, thank you so much. 100 months. 100 months. Thank you for the tier 1. I appreciate you.
If Nate uses promo code DJ Montague at checkout, that 100 months can easily turn into 110.
It's true, but that's not how that works.
Yeah, 100 months, and you get 10 months free. Use DJ Montague at checkout.
That's also how that doesn't work. But, yeah, I mean, in reference to Gamersubs, if you use code DJ Montague at checkout, yes, you get the discount. But in reference to the stream, if you just type in DJ Montague, it does nothing.
If you type in DJ Montague, you might get mercury poisoning.
Let's hope.
But who knows?
Let's hope not.
So Unuki was a secret code, all right? Back then, there wasn't enough food, so they had to reduce the population. So they made a drug to abort babies that was made out of mercury mined from the mountain, and they called it Uronuki medicine. And Yoshiki is like, oh, mercury. That's where the Nisayama mountain got its name. Asako is like, Nisa? And Yoshiki said Nisa is cinnabar. It was used to produce mercury. Then Yuta says this drug was talked about in code to making an offering to Unuki-san on the mountain, and soon they enshrined it as the god of the mountain. After that, all the diseases and stuff mysteriously disappeared. Hikaru thinks that he doesn't remember anything and wonders if he was on the mountain from then on. And then Yuta says maybe Unuki was why Hikaru went missing on the mountain. But Yuki is like, there isn't a god like that. Hikaru then says, if that god was really among us, what would everyone do? Like, if it possessed one of us, maybe if it possessed Hikaru, like, just completely hypothetical here.
Yeah, super hypothetical. Like, we don't have to investigate it all that further, but like, what would you guys do?
What would you guys do if Hikaru was actually possessed by this god? Completely hypothetical. It didn't actually happen, even though Asako knows it happened, but it didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
So let's just pretend it didn't happen.
Right.
What do you think?
What do you think about this? Hypothetically.
And Yoshiki is surprised, but Yuta is just like, send that shit back to the mountain. And Yuki is like, that's freaky. Wouldn't it get exposed eventually anyway and go back to where it came from? Yoshiki is like, wait, Yuta, why do you know so much about this? And he said his brother is into occult stuff and studying folklore at Tokyo University. So maybe Yuta's brother is actually just future Okaru.
Yeah, that's 100%. I wish they did a reference to Dan there. That would have been sick if he just turned around and he had big circle glasses and you were like, hey, wait a second.
Yoshiki is like, hey, can you message him? I want to ask him something about Unuki-san. It's break time in class and Yoshiki and Hikaru are looking out the window and Yoshiki is like, damn, Yuta's brother is in Tokyo University. And Hikaru is like, isn't that where you wanted to go? What would you study? Like bugs and shit? And he's like, yeah, that's definitely an option. Yoshiki is like, you came to my house last night. Do you remember what happened? And Hikaru is like, nah, my memory is all fuzzy. I don't even remember what we did. More foreshadowing. We learn more about this later. Yuta messaged his brother and he said by the time the village split around the 1700s, Unuki was gone as a religious figure. But then there was a rumor of a curse on anyone who interfered in the area. After that, believers of another religion facing oppression fled here and settled down without fear of persecution, and that's why Kibogoyama has so many churches now. Yuta is like, why are you so curious? Are you an occultist too? And Yoshiki is just like, oh, yeah, sure, that's me. Good old occultist Yoshiki. And then he thinks that there isn't one church in Kubitachi, and all they have is a single shrine.
Before we continue this episode, trigger warning, there are going to be some disembodied things on the screen. The screenshots from pretty much here to the rest of the episodes, they're a little weird. It's not scary, but if you do have a fear of an aversion for those, just listen and we'll describe it in great horror.
I got you.
The show's really good and you should watch it.
It is really good. Yoshiki and Hikaru are walking home and is thinking what it meant that when the village split in the 1700s, Unuki already changed to no Nuki, and did the split have something to do with the religion too? And Hikaru is trying to call Yoshiki, but Yoshiki is lost in thought. They're at the ice cream store now, and Yoshiki is still contemplating that Nonuki became a cursed god after all. Those villagers died, and with nowhere to turn, the villagers adopted the new religions and practiced instead. And Nonuki was forgotten, but he knows Kubitachi still believes in Nonuki, and it flashes Matsuda and old man Takeda. They're in Yoshiki's room, and he's still talking about the religion stuff and says every other village forgot about Nonuki except for Kubitachi, and we weren't allowed to forget, and we needed to pay for some kind of sin committed by the Indo family. And it flashes the scene of the dude that looks like Hikaru holding a head, and Yoshiki says Kubitachi was never forgiven. Hikaru is holding a pillow and is like, dude, can you even hear me? And when Yoshiki turns, he sees a flash of the old Indo dude holding the head. Hikaru is like, I wonder how much Tanaka knows about this. And he's been quiet since their encounter. And Yoshiki says before he shows up again, they need to go to the temple old man Takeda mentioned. And Hikaru is like, I wonder what happened to old man Takeda after that. It cuts to Hikaru and Yoshiki at the Indo shrine, and Yoshiki is like, damn, this thing is well taken care of. And they open the doors, but it's pitch black. And Hikaru turns on the light, and all the walls are lined with heads. And Yoshiki is like, holy shit. But Hikaru says they're all made of wood. Hikaru touches one and gets a bunch of images flashing in his head, and he's like, damn, That kind of hurt. Then is like, hey, I know this place from Hikaru's memories. He has a flashback, and Hikaru's dad says the heads are called Okubi-sama and are offerings made to Unuki-sama. And he says for years this area has been plagued by disaster and the people had it rough. And that's why they offer these heads in exchange for Unuki-sama's help. And it helps their crops and prevents disease and shit. After they offer the heads disappear and they make replacement heads out of wood to honor the dead in the temple. And young Hikaru is like, oh, so these are all wooden heads of people that are dead. And his dad is like, yup. And their family name comes from this temple, and they've been taking care of it for generations. His dad says other body parts besides the head need to be buried as far away as possible, and the village was split into 5 to make this process easier. And by coincidence, the map looks like a person's body.
Oops, accidents happen. You guys planned this super poorly.
Young Hikaru is like, damn, that's weird as fuck. So who are these people? And his dad says most of them were terminally ill or elderly, but that tiny shrine on the outskirts of the village was built after they forced a traveling monk to give up his head because they were afraid of being cursed.
Yeah, what was this traveling monk doing, though?
Traveling?
Yeah, but he's just like, some dude, he's like, oh, yeah, I know what's going on here. I've been traveling a lot, and I'll give you my head.
I don't think he knew what was going on, and he was forced to give up his head. So they basically just murdered this dude.
Oh, oops, all murder.
And then they built that tiny shrine, which was the tiny shrine that Tanaka kicked. And I assume that spirit that was holding the bell was the spirit of the monk that was forced to give up his head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then he went looking for the piece because he's like one of the homies. He's like, oh, you worked for the company back then. Will you go help us out? And he's like, ooh, ghost monk. And then he leaves.
The more that I think about it now, I don't know, like, again, kind of Tanaka's power and what he does is a mystery. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if he enlisted the help of this monk spirit. If, like, he has some sort of contract with that spirit, like, it's like, hey, find these fucks, and afterward, your spirit is free to go back to the world of the dead or something. Mm-hmm. Young Hikaru is like, oh, so everyone is a bunch of murderers. And his dad is like, you got it, son. And the wandering monk wasn't the only victim. They killed tons of innocent people and cut off their heads as offerings. And this is the curse of our village. And don't forget the Indo curse either. Yoshiki is just internally freaking out. And he's like, damn, this place is a murder village. No wonder they kept it a secret. And that offering turned out to be human heads. Hikaru walks up to the altar and he's like, Hichi-san is gone and used to be right here. And that's what they would bring to the mountain for the ritual as an offering for Unuki-san. Hikaru is then like, what's the point of this? I don't need these heads to grant wishes. And Yoshiki is like, do you remember all of Hikaru's memories now? What was the Indo family's sin? But Hikaru says that part is still fuzzy. Yoshiki is like, damn, well, we need to get more info from someone that was close to your dad. And Yoshiki is like, I know someone, but ... And it shows a scene of his dad.
This also made me laugh because this just implies that his dad's been sitting in the chair for the entire year of this show existing so far. You know what I mean? Like, I know a guy and he's just been right there reading his manga.
Do lumberjacks need to send emails? I don't know.
Well, he doesn't have a computer. He's just got a bunch of books next to him.
He has a laptop.
Well, he has a laptop later, but he didn't have it out for this part where it zooms in on his back.
I thought it did because you could hear the typing.
Maybe I was doing two things at one time, and I wasn't hearing the typing because I was also typing.
After the credits roll, it shows a monologue by Hikaru that says his insides are cold and he wants to fill them up. And once I do, I'll be satisfied. And that's what he's supposed to do. And it's the scene that Yoshiki asked why he showed up at his house the other night, but he couldn't remember. And Yoshiki is like, what the hell are you just standing there in a daze for? And Hikaru can see his bright soul. And he's like, don't just stand there, come on in. And Hikaru reaches out to Yoshiki and is like, oh, that shit's warm. And then it seems like Hikaru regains some sort of consciousness. And he's like, oh, never mind. and then leaves.
My DoorDash is at my house. I've got to go.
It's a lot of information in that one episode, right?
Yeah.
But now we know that Hikaru is doing some sort of monster instinct, go find soul mode, and he kind of loses himself. Now we understand what this whole offering thing is with the Indo family, what they're going to the mountain for. We're figuring out what that little tiny shrine was, why Hikaru's grandpa said that this is the murder village and they have this giant curse. So now we're starting to really see what this whole story is about and what it's revolving around.
There are much less allegories in these episodes. I can't really dissect this all for you guys to be like, all right, hear me out.
Let us continue because these episodes are long. We continue on to episode 11. Yoshiki is standing outside of his dad's office door and he thinks that it's been years since he's talked to him like this. And then he knocks and enters and his dad is typing away on his laptop and turns. There's a flashback of young Yoshiki playing with a Godzilla and Ultron Man action figure. And then his dad asks him if he wants to read together. And there's a plate of 2 eaten watermelon slices, and his dad wants to read him The Farmer's Head. Yoshiki is like, what the fuck is that? And his dad says it's a Kubitachi folktale, and he heard that story a lot when he was a boy. And Yoshiki is like, nah, I don't want to. And for me, this is like my biggest fear. When I'm just like, hey, son, do you want to hang out with good old dad? And he's like, fuck you, dad. You're boring as shit.
I mean, Greg, I'm sure you'll
I know
be
it's
fine.
going to come.
Yeah.
I know it's going to come
It always
someday.
happens, right? I remember my dad was like, hey, you want to go play basketball? And I was like, no, StarCraft isn't going to play itself, Dad. So I remember those days as well. It will happen. It's just a matter of when. And Greg, you'll be prepared for it. You've seen it now at least several times and possibly lived through it.
I'm not going to be able to. Like, when that happens, it's like the last piece of me is going to break.
Dude, it's going to be like that. Like, you're going to be playing ARAM one day with your son, and he's going to absolutely hard carry you, and you're going to be like, I'll just be relegated to support from now on. I'm so sorry, son. I didn't mean to disrespect you.
I'm just like, son, would you like to play another? It's like, Dad, I'm just going to go to sleep, and then you see your son log off, but then 5 minutes later, he logs back on, and he's in a party with 4 other people.
Yeah, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Greg, you can always come play video games with me, you know?
Oh, you'll just do the same thing.
Yeah, I'll be like, well, I've got to go get some rating, Greg. Good luck.
Yeah, oh man, I gotta go get some gamer subs. I gotta log off, and then you just log back on 30 seconds later. But his dad tries to bridge the gap and is like, oh, Ultron Man, that's cool. He's pretty strong. And Yoshiki is like, I like the monsters better, and they look cool. But why do they always get defeated? And the humans and monsters should all sign a peace treaty. And then I have a note here that is Yoshiki Usukubo's dad? And is this the start of his villain arc?
This is exactly what I was going to say. Exactly.
So many references to other animes we watched.
Yeah,
crazy.
100%.
Yoshiki's dad is like, damn, those are some big words. And Yoshiki says he wants to become a monster expert and do tons of research on them. And then he hands his dad Ultron Man and is like, here, but don't win though. And his dad smiles. It cuts back to the present, and Yoshiki and his dad are just awkwardly in the same room, and his dad is like, so how's school? And Yoshiki is like, it's fine, I guess. And his dad is like, well, that's good. He asks if something is on his mind, and Yoshiki says he wants to know about Hikaru's dad. And he's like, what about him? And he asks, what did the Indo family do way back when, and what was their sin? Yoshiki's dad is like, damn, who told you that? And Yoshiki says he did some research and he needs to know. And his dad is like, why do you need to know that? And him and Kohei, which is Hikaru's dad, always said they never wanted their sons to carry that burden. It flashes back to Hikaru and Yoshiki's dads. And Hikaru's dad is like, man, I want to hurry up and marry Yuki. And Yoshiki's dad is like, man, she rejected you 11 times now. This is getting fucking weird. And Hikaru's dad reaches for a shiitake manju, which are the same manjus that Rei had and the same manjus that they put at Hikaru's dad's grave. He says he's from the Indo family and they're pressured into marrying young, and he needs to bring Yuki into the family and protect her. And Yoshiki's dad is like, why you gotta do that? He says ages ago there was a young Indo family dude and his wife died of some disease and became an Okubi-sama. And that's when it all started. If we remember, an Okubi-sama is someone that gave their head for Unuki. The dude went up the mountain to offer his wife's head and wished to have his wife brought back to life. And he said, I'll bring you anyone else's head as long as they aren't from the Indo family. And Yoshiki's dad is like, damn, dude. And then he says, she came back to life, just like that. And then I have a note that says, that's the scene of the dude holding the head.
Mm-hmm.
So my previous prediction of Hichi being the Matsura's younger sister is incorrect. This is actually an Indo family thing going on here. Yoshiki's dad is like, nah, man, what? And Hikaru's dad says, the very same day, a third of the village died somehow. Some hung themselves. Some killed their families, then themselves. Some got their heads stomped by horses, and some people's heads just randomly disappeared. But no one from the Indo family died. But the wife that came back was nothing but a living head and suffered and died again.
Man, being a disembodied head's got to be the worst, right? And then also coming back to life and being like, oh, yeah, I've got all these sweet memories, but I'm in so much fucking pain right now. Somebody end me, please, for a whole day. Yeah, no, that's...
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want that. If someone did that, like, let's say I died and I'm just like, all right, goodbye, world. And then the next day I wake up and I'm just a head.
Yeah.
I'd be like, man, who the fuck did this?
Yeah, some Futurama shit where you're like in a fucking tube and you're like, no, guys. I left. I was gone. I was good with going. Please get me out of here.
And then said the mysterious deaths stopped along with the bad harvests. He continues and says his family is unlucky though, and no matter how many heads they offered, nothing ever really happened again. Yoshiki's dad is like, damn, how much of that is true? And he's like, who knows? But we still have the wife's head, and her name is Hichi, and she's still in the temple to this day. Yoshiki's dad is like, damn, you're pretty nonchalant about this. It doesn't bother you? And he's like, of course it does, since it's my burden to carry, and something they need to tell their kids someday. It cuts back to the present, and Yoshiki's dad says that's why the Indo males need to take Hichi-san to the mountain about every 5 years to apologize and beg the god to stay up there. He says that before Kohei died, he fought with the elders to stop the ritual with his generation and argued that Unuki-sama wasn't what they thought it was, and the ritual was meaningless. But soon after, an accident killed him. But was it really an accident? Yoshiki asks how his dad felt when Kohei died, and he says it felt like everything good in the village died along with him, and Yoshiki thinks that he hates how alike him and his father are. Yoshiki's dad says he's nothing like him because he's got his mom's strength and kindness, and he'll become a better person than him. But Yoshiki says for him to tell that to mom himself, and asks why he doesn't talk to her anymore. And he says he's scared because she's so strong. And he's afraid one day that he won't belong in this house anymore. I wonder what's going on with his parents, man.
Dude, that shit's crazy. He's been in that room for fucking a year, dude. Just sitting there on the computer playing fucking League of Legends or whatever.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
He's just like us.
He's just like us.
Yoshiki is like, is belonging really that important? And he says people tend to crave what they don't have enough of. People who are starving crave food. People who aren't loved crave affection. And people desperate to belong probably never had a home to begin with. And Yoshiki touches the sternum chip in his pocket. Then his dad says he should try to talk to his mom more. And Yoshiki agrees. Yoshiki is like, hey, you got a lot of books. And he's like, yeah, you can read them if you want. And he thanks him, and Karu and their mom are creeping outside of the office door. And Karu is like, holy shit, they're actually talking. And their mom is like, yeah, he's quick to put up a good face when he's around you kids. And she looks disappointed.
Yeah, this is all like, yeah, really fucked up.
More stuff I would like more information on. Like, what the hell's up with fucking Yoshiki's family? How come no one talks to each other?
I mean,
Don't they listen to the podcast?
Yeah.
They should know communication is important.
Important, very important. They have a scene in a few minutes where Yoshiki's dad, they're all at the dinner table, or the table in general, all kind of talking. The dad is turned and reading a book away from the table. Like, everybody's facing inward, and he's just definitely turned to the side. A little indication of how distant he is with the family.
Maybe it was episode 1 when him and Yoshiki were at the table eating breakfast, and he was doing the same thing, like reading to the side. And then he's like, hey, yo, Yoshiki, what's good? And then he's like, see you later. And then just leaves.
Bye, nerd.
But it cuts to the remains of a moth, probably the same moth from episode 1. And Hikaru is standing outside of the temple at his house and thinks that it seems like a lot of people offered up their lives to him. But I guess it makes sense because that's just what I am. And it has a shot of the wooden heads in the temple, and one of them changes to Yoshiki's head. Hikaru's mom rolls up and is like, hey, you busy? And he's like, nah. Is dinner ready? And she's like, yeah, I made your favorite, mabo tofu. And he's like, cool. Thanks, Mom. Cuts to Yoshiki in his dad's office, thinking about the Indo sin of killing people to bring a woman back to life. And now they're forced to take responsibility and apologize for it. And he starts checking his notes. Yoshiki thinks something is off, though, because the area has been plagued with disease long before this. And there are even official records. And the fact it all stopped after the mass deaths means the impurities causing the disease went away. But wouldn't Nonuki-sama prevent bad stuff from happening to the village? And isn't he a lightning rod drawing impurities to the mountain? And what was Nonuki doing before the mass deaths and before Hichi-san? It never granted any requests. And then he has a flashback to when he asked Hikaru to kill him, and Hikaru asking if that is a request. And Yoshiki thinks a god that grants requests, but then is like, man, I don't get it. So yeah, I mean, it is a little bit confusing because now Yoshiki is basically taking all of the information he knows and is trying to compile it into something that makes sense. Later on, Tanaka tells us the answer in not so many words.
Yeah, it happens very fast and it's very funny.
Yeah. And everyone was right, basically. Anyway, he continues and wonders if Hichi-san was someone special and why are there so many impurities in the first place. And he thinks if he doesn't figure this out, ... then it flashes real Hikaru saying he's going to the mountain. And I assume he wants to prevent more deaths. And he's like, well, not on my watch. Yoshiki gets up but knocks over a bunch of books on the desk. And one of them is a Raffaelli. That's what I'm going to go with.
I think that's correct.
And one of them, it's a Raffaelli art book, and he picks it up and flips through and is like, damn, these paintings are nice, but then sees the Hikaru blob in the book, and it's a sketch of Gehenna from the year 1519. Cuts to school, and the baseball team and the coach says that, as you all know, Ada went and started a fight, so he's suspended for 3 weeks, and Yuta is there with his slinged up arm. Cuts to Yuki and Asako in homeroom, and Asako is like, hey, remember how Yoshiki and Hikaru skipped the concert? I wonder why they did that. And Yuki is like, who knows? But they're coming to school now, so nothing to worry about. And I put here, good attention to detail, because Yuki is sitting on Asako's left side, which is her working ear, not her right ear, which got fucked up by Hikaru. Cuts to Yoshiki and Hikaru at the library, and they have a bunch of kids' fairy tale books on the table, and Yoshiki tells Hikaru what the sin is, and Hikaru is like, oh, that's nice. Hey, that means you asked your dad about it, right? And he's like, yeah, I couldn't ask anyone else. No one knew your dad like my dad did. And Hikaru is flipping through a fairy tale of a princess telling a monster that chicken is tastier than people. So lots of symbolism here with the kids' books, because we do have a few more scenes of kids' books as well.
I unfortunately don't have any screenshots of the kids' books because they were just flashes, and I wanted to get more imagery of Yoshiki and Hikaru having their discussion. But if you didn't know, chicken is way more tasty than people. So that's why we don't eat people.
Are you speaking from experience?
I have not eaten a person.
How do you know? Hikaru's like, what kind of person wants Hikaru anyway?
God damn it.
And Yoshiki is like, man, a little late for that. But he says it's his fault Hikaru's body got damaged, so he feels bad. Yoshiki is like, you are weaker now, aren't you, since you split yourself in half? And Hikaru is like, yeah, maybe. And Yoshiki is like, well, I'll give this back then. And he takes out the sternum chip, and he's like, with this, you won't feel any more pain. Hikaru is like, even if I put it back, I don't know if it will make it better. And that piece might get lost inside me forever. And he jokes that if he puts it back in, then Yoshiki might try stabbing him again. And Yoshiki looks sad, and he's like, I'm not gonna stab you again. Yoshiki goes into describing Hikaru, and he says he was like a main character in a manga. He could run fast, but sucked at schoolwork. And he could talk to anyone, but upperclassmen didn't like him since he didn't pay them enough respect. But underclassmen loved him. There were always rumors of girls crushing on Hikaru, and he would work himself up on when they would ask him out, but they would always end up dating someone else. And before he died, he had a thing for Saito from Class B because she looked like Rinshan from Master Master. He always slept through movies and ate any kind of food. He was always strong and never stressed, and he never cried. And he wonders if Hikaru actually wanted to cry. Hikaru is like, do you miss the real Hikaru? And Yoshiki is like, yeah, of course. And Hikaru is like, well, that makes sense. And the book he was reading had a line that said, the beast pondered. So more symbolism here for Hikaru, understanding he isn't human. He is the monster depicted in the book. Mm-hmm. I think they continue this metaphor here in this episode. Mm-hmm. They're walking through the school halls now, and Yoshiki is like, so you don't remember what happened with Ichi-san? And he says he kind of does, but he kind of doesn't. And Yoshiki is like, try to think about it a little more. And he says he's trying, and Yoshiki is like, you want to stay here, right? But Hikaru stops, and Yoshiki is like, damn, does your neck hurt? And Hikaru is like, nope. And then it flashes, and Hikaru appears to have changed demeanor.
I was going to say real quick, they're walking down the hallway, and the hallway seems to go on for a very long time. This is when you can see the shift. There's a tonal shift in the background sound. It sounds a little stressful. You're getting this interaction akin to when Hikaru changes in general. This scene is supposed to be like really unnerving, right? And I laughed at it, unfortunately, because I have a very dark sense of humor. I'll tell you when I started laughing. Sorry. I cut you off before you get to the laughing part, but continue, Greg.
In the screenshot, you can see the light in the dark. Like the right side of the hallway is very dark. The left side of the hallway is light. Even though there is natural light coming in from the windows, that hall on the right is still dark, and that's the side that Hikaru is walking on. Mm-hmm. So lots of foreshadowing here. Mm-hmm. The little details of the storytelling. Mm-hmm. Always good. Hikaru appears to have changed demeanor and then starts speaking gibberish, and the blob starts to seep out of his neck, and he advances towards Yoshiki.
Okay, so this is where I started laughing, because the blob seeps out of his neck, and then in chat, when we're live, we have a command of, oh Lord, I'm about to bust. And this was that. I just started fucking laughing because he's busting out of his own neck, and he's like,
damn.
He's got that smile on. Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust. That's what he said.
Oh, damn. So Hikaru said he's about to bust, and Yoshiki is like, oh shit, gotta run.
Yeah.
And does. And wonders why all of a sudden he changed. And Hikaru is eyeing that sweet, sweet, bright soul of Yoshiki. Yoshiki hears Asako and Yuki talking in a classroom, and he stops and hides behind a corner, which is ridiculous because he ran completely straight.
Yeah, there's nowhere else to go.
And then, like, let me just cover my mouth. Maybe he'll just walk right past me and didn't see me, literally just walk around this corner.
Like, you need to run down the stairs, my dude. You need to get away out of sight because he could see your soul. But our boy Yoshiki, not exactly thinking straight.
No, if he was in an actual horror movie, he 100% would be dead.
Oh, he'd be super dead.
But to give Yoshiki the benefit of the doubt, I think he did this because he heard Asako and Yuki and didn't want Hikaru to go after them instead.
Yes, that's a really good call. Yeah.
So Yoshiki hides behind a corner.
Yeah.
Hikaru literally finds him instantly. And now Hikaru is going full blob mode. Yoshiki drops down to his knees, and then the blob starts to engulf him. But he opens his eyes and is like, hey, you know what? This isn't so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So Hikaru takes all of Yoshiki in his mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Thanks for this interaction that we're having in this secluded corner. And then
secluded, not secluded, literally like
literally
the busiest intersection of the hallway.
And then we see Asako's like, oh shit, he's about to bust. I should leave. Runs down the stairs.
Well, she actually watched him bust and was like, thanks for the show, boys, and then leaves.
Yeah. We're taking a very serious moment and making it the stupidest we possibly can. Really proud of us for continuing this.
Yoshiki drops to his knees, blob in his mouth, and then he's like, oh, this isn't so bad. Is it because of how mixed I am? And then he says Hikaru's name, and Hikaru is about to grab his soul, but snaps out of it. And the blob recedes, and he's like, oh shit, why did I do that? But Asako saw what was happening from the stairwell. Yoshiki is like, hey man, it's okay. Don't worry about it. But Hikaru is freaking out, and he's like, oh no, I did it again. I should have known. I'm a monster after all. But Yoshiki is like, nah man, that's not true. Look, I'm fine. Check this out. I'm good. But Hikaru isn't having any of it and runs. But Yoshiki grabs him, but he breaks his grip and keeps running. Cuts to a train, and Yoshiki is on it, and he says he accepted him because he looked like Hikaru, and then he thinks something like him should have a place to belong, and he has to have a home somewhere. Cuts to the school, and the rain is really coming down, and Yuki and Asako are walking, and Yuki is like, man, where the fuck is your umbrella? You're going to get soaked. But Asako looks like she's in a daze, and she's like, oh yeah, umbrella. And Yuki is like, man, silly girl, you're gonna catch a cold. But she's still absent-minding, probably thinking about what she saw with Hikaru on the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Cuts to Rei, and she opens her door, and Hikaru is there, soaked from the rain.
First of all, definitely soaked from the rain. I just want to state that.
Oh, the rain?
Yeah, the rain from Yoshiki, you know what I'm saying? What's up?
He didn't make it rain, he made it snow. All right,
Hold
Ray's
on.
preparing some tea. Okay.
What? What the fuck did you just say? Pause.
6-7.
Yeah, okay, anyways. All right. Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, me either, don't worry.
Well, what I do know is that Rei is preparing some tea and has a towel for Hikaru. And she says by mixing, she means when something from their world gets inside of him and some of their elements will get mixed into his soul. And it happened to her soul too. And when it happens, the boundary between their world gets fuzzy and it attracts impurities. Hikaru asks if something bad will happen to Yoshiki if he gets mixed even more, and she's like, I don't want to think about it, so I guess it's that bad. Hikaru is like, I don't understand the value of a life, and all those emotions and shit are complicated. But then he says Yoshiki told him he didn't have to understand, and that he doesn't need to become human, and that's why he doesn't want to hurt Yoshiki, but it's getting hard lately, and sometimes he can't control himself. Rei says, maybe it's your instincts, and you're like a weakened animal lashing out. And Hikaru is like, it doesn't even matter what it is. I could mess up Yoshiki's soul. And Rei thinks that Hikaru is scared. In one wrong step, he'll mess everything up.
This is literally Hikaru goes Greg mode all over this dinner table.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, continue, Greg. Explain what Hikaru does.
Hikaru is like, if I went back to the mountain, would it fix everything? And Rei is surprised, and he's like, would that reduce the impurities and keep everyone safe? And everything go back to normal? And she's like, well, that wouldn't necessarily fix the heart of the problem. But Hikaru is like, I'll be okay. Don't worry about me. I'm but a monster, so it's not a big deal, I guess. But then he starts crying and says he doesn't want to be alone.
Full Greg mode.
Is that what I sound like?
No.
I mean, maybe part of it is where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm a piece of shit. No big deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the mountain, aka the train tracks.
Right. You're doing it in game.
Yeah. Ray thinks that in Hikaru's current state, she couldn't get rid of it, but at least she could yank it out of his body. And both of them are going to suffer anyway. And she's like, I got to do it. And it's suspenseful as she's about to do it. But then she stops and says they should call it a day. I assume she was going to clap him.
Mm-hmm. She's going to clap the shit out of him.
Ray is laying on her couch thinking that he's only been in this world for a year, if that. And it's too unfair. So maybe a little longer. Then it flashes her son saying that her softened heart will lead to greater suffering. And she thinks she knows it's true. But Hikaru has a family waiting for him to come home. But then the doorbell rings and she gets up. And it's the girl from the company. Cuts to Hikaru walking and thinking that even with all the research and them figuring out what he is, it won't change the fact that he's a monster. And he doesn't even want to be human anyway. And it shows Yoshiki in his room with a scene of the action figures, and Hikaru thinks that it's arrogant for him to want a place to call home. Hikaru gets home, but just stands outside of the door and has flashes of Yoshiki's tasty soul. But his mom opens the door and is like, what the fuck are you doing out here? But she says, welcome home, and has him come inside. That's the end of episode 11.
One more, Greg. We got this. I believe in us.
We got this. Here we go. Let's get through this. Then this reveals everything. We'll talk about it, and then I will return to the mountain.
Yeah.
So here we go. The finale, episode 12 of the summer Hikaru dies. It is still raining, and Hikaru is in his room playing with the master finger puppets, and he's talking as Ron, saying he has to leave and go back to where he used to be. But then the other finger puppet comes in and is like, no, we finally become friends. You can't. And then Hikaru just chuckles to himself. Cuts to Yoshiki's family at the table, and Kaoru says some kids in her class are going to the pool in August, and she needs a pool ring. And their mom is like, well, that sounds nice. What about the one we bought at Yamahisa? And she's like, no, that one fucking stinks. I want a new one. Yoshiki's dad is like, hey, Yoshiki, did you finish your research? And everyone looks up at him, and he's like, no, not yet. And he says he needs the books a little bit longer. And his dad is like, hard, no problem. Keep them as long as you need. And he looks happy.
Everyone is literally shocked this dude's talking at the dinner table. They were like, what the fuck? All right, we'll let it slide this time. Weird guy.
I want to know more about their family history.
Yeah, their family history's got to be really fucked up.
Yeah, because there's some things that aren't answered here. Why is their family fucked up? If their dad and their mom are so distant, like what's going on there? Why was Yoshiki and his dad distant to begin with? Why does Kaoru not go to school?
Yeah.
Why does his mom own a hair salon? I don't know. So many burning questions.
So many.
But it cuts to school, and Yoshiki is sitting there, and Yuta is just poking his face, and Yuki is like, man, what the hell are you doing to him?
Real quick, Pinky brought up a really good point. Yoshiki's mom is just like, well, you suck because your friend died and you won't get over it. And she says, well, I think Yoshiki's dad is depressed because of Hikaru's dad died.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe he is doing his own brooding and investigation where he thinks maybe it wasn't an accident and he was actually murdered because he didn't want to do the Indo ritual. Yeah. Oh, and the daughter was bullied at school? Oh, okay. How did I miss all that?
No. You had said it before. But you watch a lot of anime, Greg. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I was probably getting it confused with the massage one.
No, Greg, no. No, you weren't. Don't say that out loud ever again.
Yoshiki is like, how's the arm? And he's like, oh, it's good, but still can't play baseball yet. And summer vacation starts tomorrow. Yuki is like, well, that sucks you can't play during break. And Asako has been all depressed lately too. Mr. Hara walks in and he's like, let's get class started. But then looks at the drawing on the chalkboard that the kids drew of him, and he's like, damn, does my face really look like that? So just more silly stuff that kids do.
Funny little shit happening.
Cuts to Hikaru walking his bike and then back to class. And Yuta is like, hey, Hikaru isn't here yet. And Yuki is like, he's going to be tardy. Cuts to the auditorium and the principal dude is addressing the kids. And he says that this concludes the 2020 semester. But then it cuts to Hikaru walking into school and walks up to Yoshiki's locker, caresses it, and smiles. The kids start singing the school anthem except Yoshiki, and he looks over and sees Asako talking to Mr. Hada, and she leaves, and then cuts to Hikaru in the choir room reminiscing, and then to him in the library, and then to the classrooms as Asako is creeping around. Asako walks into the classroom and is like, hey there, sneaky pants, tee-hee, skipping the assembly. And Hikaru is like, they won't mind. I'll just tell them I'm pooping.
Flawless.
Cuts to Tanaka showing up at the Takeda house. And he's like, I've come to discuss something with you. And he's like, what? And Tanaka is like, it's about Nonuki-sama. And Takeda is visibly shaken. And Tanaka is like, Nonuki-sama never existed. And then starts laughing. Takeda is like, what? And he's like, it's a fake god. The village made it up. And Takeda is like, what the fuck? And Tanaka says the Indo ritual was pointless. And there's an underlying cause behind all of this. But I intend to do something about it. And if he succeeds, the villagers can avoid being wiped out. So if we take Tanaka at face value, basically this Indo ritual of literally murdering people, taking their heads and offering them to the god on the mountain. Yeah, they've just been killing for no reason.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I think that there is a reason for it in the story. My own thought process of what's going to happen is that them murdering the people and like sending them up the mountain and these heads up the mountain is feeding whatever is going to come next, which is from that other world. They definitely are like opening a gate, so to speak.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like the heads have to be going somewhere.
Yeah.
Because like there are no remains. There's no like,
yeah, they're saying
skulls.
they're disappearing and shit.
Yeah, like the heads just aren't there.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit more to this than we know, but it's similar to Dan, where they were doing the human sacrifice thing to protect the island or whatever, when that wasn't actually what was needed to protect the island.
Yeah, they were just feeding the worm.
But it cuts back to Hikaru in the classroom with the window open, and he's like, damn, this wind feels good. And Asako is across the room looking at the ground, and she's like, summer vacation starts tomorrow. And Hikaru is like, you going to do that homework? And she's like, man, I'll have that shit done by the first week. But Yuki always waits until the last day and cries while doing it. And Asako is fidgeting her hands as she talks. And Hikaru is like, yeah, I'll get it done too. And he's like, schoolwork is fun.
When Asako says, I'll have it done by the first week, I thought of a song by Waka Flocka called 15th and the 1st. My homeboys will have paid you on the 33rd. One of the greatest terrible lines in rap history. I think that's literally the line. I have to look this up. My homeboys will get you paid you on the 33rd.
Can you translate for me? What does that mean?
We're not going to pay you, ever. My homeboys will get you, pay you on the 33rd. 2 pints of lean will have me slurring all my words. Undertaker car, triple black, drop a bird. Stomach full of money, so hundreds, I'm a burp. Great song.
Okay. Nice.
And then it's the rest of the lyrics. All the hoods love us like the 15th and the 1st. When you get, paid food stamps and stuff like that. It's a reference, obviously, but the 33rd is like, we're never going to pay you, dude.
Wait, so you're referencing Asako not doing her homework or what?
Yeah, I was laughing. She's like, I'm on the 1st. And then whenever I see the 1st or the 15th as dates or anything, it's just... Okay. Sorry, Greg, I just had to sidebar that real quick.
Asako was like, so, you aren't Hikaru, are you? And the wind blows the curtain across the frame covering Hikaru. And she's like, I saw you the other day, and you weren't the usual Hikaru. And your voice... And the curtain blows again. And Hikaru's eyes are glowing red. And then it blows again. And he has some weird look on his face, like the one when he tried to absorb Yoshiki last episode. Hikaru was like, man, you did it again. And Asako was like, did what? And Hikaru said, you did it again. You saved 10% off of your order of t-shirts from it-aesthetics.com, where Asako used promo code TABC10 at checkout to save 10% off of her entire t-shirt order that she will be wearing during summer vacation at it-aesthetics.com. And she picked up a Makima t-shirt just like the one DJ Montague has, or the Makima t-shirt just like I have.
Oh, wow. You're wearing a Makima t-shirt too? That's so sick. Excellent work, Greg. Holy shit. That was stupendous.
Now I've completely lost my place in my notes, so give me a second.
Every time you all say summer vacation, I keep hearing the Phineas and Ferb song. That's what Pinky says. I don't know that song, but it's definitely not the 15th and the 1st.
Or the 33rd.
No. You're an excellent storyteller, but beyond that, an excellent segue. Insane.
Hikaru was like, man, you did it again. You shouldn't say stuff like that out loud to me. And that's just dumb. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, you going to tell? You gonna snitch? And she's like, no, I never snitch, Papa Hikaru. She says it's weird and scary. He isn't the real Hikaru. And Yoshiki acts like nothing is wrong. But she can't do that. And it's all so weird. And she starts crying. She says she can't bring herself to hate the new Hikaru at all. And he's like, even after I messed up your ear? And she's like, oh shit, I forgot about that. And Hikaru apologizes and says he promised Yoshiki he wouldn't hurt her anymore and that he wouldn't kill anybody. Asako is like, you really aren't human, are you? And it shows a scene of the school desks similar to the beginning of the series, so I'm glad they brought it back around. She asks if the real Hikaru is alive somewhere, and he says no. And this body is nothing but a corpse. And she's like, oh, well, I figured as much. And she cries some more. Hikaru walks over to her and wipes away her tears, but she keeps crying. And Hikaru thinks that everyone should have mourned for real Hikaru like this. But since he's here, they aren't even sad. And that's what Hikaru asked for. And if he hadn't come in the first place, Yoshiki would have grieved with the others, and maybe he wouldn't be suffering like he is now. And it has a scene of Hikaru in a casket with all of his favorite stuff and the kids crying. He continues and says everyone could have moved on with their lives and could focus on college and stuff, and maybe they would be better off. Hikaru tells Asako that he feels kind of bad for doing all of this, and then apologizes to her. Yeah, so that's a crazy scene.
Yeah, it's really like the imagery of seeing Hikaru actually dead. These kids actually mourning their friend that's died. Them, from his point of view, they've gained nothing, but everything's changed. And it's all this lie that they're all holding up together. And without realizing that he's still Hikaru to them and can continue to live as such, but is finding all the difficulty in being whatever he is now. This could be an allegory to, the mountain and being gay. But I think that this is just like they're gripping with death in general.
But it cuts to kids playing in the river and running around, and then to Yoshiki's house, and there's some other relative family members over, and Kaoru is holding a baby. And the ladies are like, oh, Hikaru, you should get married and start pumping out some cuties, nah, I mean. But the dudes at the table are like, oh, Hikaru's a girl? Damn, I forgot.
So weird. Such a weird scene.
I know, it's weird, dude, super weird. And says she still isn't going to school. And Yoshiki is like, yeah. And the dudes are like, well, no use forcing her. She's a girl, so no reason for education. She should just pump out babies.
Gross. So gross.
And they're like, hey, Yoshiki, you got a girl yet? You got to cut those bangs or the girls won't like you. And the dudes just start laughing. So again, another thing that they've always done, they continued to do in the series, is the Yoshiki POV bang shot. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, while I think it is an effective tool to lack of self-confidence, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good and to put us in his shoes to see what he's seeing sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if it has any significance other than that.
his fucking emo face.
The doorbell rings.
And it just starts. Sorry, let me take this from here, Greg.
Okay,
the doorbell rings, and Yoshiki wafts his hair to the side, and then you can hear Blink-182 in the background, and it's like, "Where are you?" And I'm so sorry.
Oh, man.
And then he opens the door and it gets louder. Hikaru's standing there and he's like, I cannot sleep. I cannot dream tonight.
Man.
Yeah, that was good, right?
That was good. Yeah. That was good. I actually thought Blink-182 was in the studio with us.
Just Tom DeLonge specifically, because wherever he goes, he sings that fucking song.
Damn.
Anyways.
So the doorbell rings, and it's Hikaru, and Yoshiki is like, what are you doing here? And Hikaru is like, hey, you want to go somewhere? Cuts to them on a train, and Hikaru is like, hey, sorry about the other day. And Yoshiki is like, how many times have you tried to kill me now? I'm not phased anymore. We good? And I tried to stab you, so now we're even. But Hikaru is looking at the mark on Yoshiki's arm. Hikaru thinks Yoshiki is trying to act tough, but Yoshiki is like, you saved me today by inviting me out. I hate hanging out with my relatives, and Hikaru laughs. Yoshiki says he knows what it's like obsessing over a place to belong, and he wants to believe he has a home too, somewhere that isn't here. And Hikaru is like, yeah, and then makes a goofy-ass face, and Yoshiki laughs.
This is the part where they have the imagery of Japan, yes, by the way. And this picture is like, it reminds me of the East Coast, because a lot of trees on the East Coast, a lot of greenery. Out west, I live in a desert, so you could see the contrast, Greg, as you have lived in both places. How do you feel about this imagery?
I will say that rural trains and Shinkansen are some of the coolest scenery you can watch. And I think as you go outside of the city in Japan and you're hitting the more rural areas and just the train stations in those rural villages, it is a crazy contrast. And in I don't know, in America, it doesn't seem as cool. Here, you could just go to Ohio and see cornfields for 100 million miles and everything's flat as fuck and it's boring. But I guess to some people, it probably has its own charm to it.
Of course.
But to me, the Midwest, it doesn't give you the same feeling as what this image gives, to me anyway. And I will say in this whole scene of them riding the train, right, they are using lots of real life video mixed with the animation. So it's not just this scene here, like the inside of the train where they're showing the oh shit handles or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they had a lot of real life imagery in here, and I thought it was pretty cool. I thought they did it really well. I mean, they could have gone the solo camping route where they blur it and cartoonify it a little bit, even though that was a real thing and they just kind of put a filter on it. I guess I'm kind of glad that they didn't, and I think they did a really good job mixing 2D with real life stuff.
You can see it in these two images right here. You see they are sitting on a real bench. That is not drawn. You see the benches, the handles, the train, and it's like the isolation of just them, those two, on the train together, traveling to a different place. And you feel the hopefulness that the countryside brings to these two. I just thought this whole scene of them having that moment of okay, the serious stuff is past for a moment. The joking face Hikaru gives, the pressure valve has completely released. We're good. It's time to take a moment and be in the moment. Very pretty to watch.
But they get off the train and they go shopping for pool rings, and Yoshiki picks one out, and Hikaru is like, well, that's not much of a pool ring. You sure? And Yoshiki says that Kaoru wanted the cutest one, so it's perfect. They walk back, and Yoshiki is like, it's so awkward to hold. And it has a still scene of them walking. It's a still scene, but then the voices and everything is still going over it. And they do this a couple times in the next few parts of the episode. But yeah, okay, so he's carrying the salamander pool inflatable or whatever.
I think that salamander is adorable.
It has a still scene of the salamander pushed up against Yoshiki. And Hikaru is like, dude, fucking just push the air out of that shit and fold it up, man. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And Yoshiki says he would feel bad for it if he did. I have here the inflatable salamander as symbolism for Hikaru. Hikaru is like, already made friends with it, have you? And laughs and says, it's good Kaoru made some friends. Cuts to Hikaru and Yoshiki at the park sitting on the little kid animal rocker things or whatever. Yoshiki is on a lion, Hikaru on a panda, and he's like, you remember anything about Nonuki yet? And he says he should have the memories, but he's forgotten them. But they're coming back little by little, especially the part about granting requests. And he feels like he really could make any wish come true. Yoshiki is like, oh shit, any wish? And Hikaru is like, yeah, man, what do you want? And Yoshiki looks at him and he's like, nah, man, I'm good. And Hikaru's eyes glow red. And he's like, even though we know about Nonuki now, we still don't know how to solve the impurity problem. Then Menchi, the cat, walks past the camera with his balls out. DJ Montague's favorite. Yoshiki is like, we gotta do something. And what was that sketch about? And it's just one question after another. And he gets lost in thought. And there's a moth on the nose of Hikaru's panda. But Hikaru is like, hey, Yoshiki, look, Menchi, he's dancing. And he has Menchi and is moving his paws back and forth as the moth flies away. Yoshiki is like, oh, he's gotten used to you. Then Menchi hisses and punches him in the face. And he's like, man, he only likes me when I got treats. So yeah, more symbolism stuff here. They had a bunch of moths in the beginning, bunch of dead moths, but now you have a live moth that's flying away.
It's a symbolism for him ingratiating himself into humanity and becoming more human.
I just think how they did everything in this story so far is like really good. I said it in a bunch of other episodes as we talked about. The little details and the breadcrumbs that they leave and the fact that they reference back to them and it actually meant something, or it's like just a little tiny tidbit of the story that if you keep your eyes open, you're rewarded. There's an advantage to looking for this stuff. Unlike Go-Go Loser Ranger, where they didn't give a shit and they were just randomly fucking putting shit in there and then they deleted half the episode.
Yeah. All of these things really happen, so.
Hikaru is like, sitting here and thinking about this all day isn't getting us anywhere. You want to go to the ocean? And Hikaru says he wants to see it at least once. And the clouds cast a shadow over them, but then they part to show sunlight on Hikaru's face. Cuts to Tanaka on a train, looking at a map on his phone. Cuts to Yoshiki and Hikaru at the ocean, and Hikaru is like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy, and gets excited and kicks off his shoes and goes in with the salamander and is having a grand old time, but then sees a snake and they lock glowing red eyes together, but then the snake slithers away. Yoshiki is like, man, your pants are going to get wet. You should take them off. And Hikaru is like, just now, but then switches gears and is like, look, we kept our promise of going to see the ocean. And Yoshiki is surprised. And then Hikaru says he wonders what the other kids are doing right now. And you think they were mad at us for skipping the concert, and it might have been fun to sing with everyone. He then says those lyrics about, quote, toward the future, this pounding in my heart hits right in the feels. And then Hikaru starts singing, and Yoshiki is like, what, dude, what, you're gonna fucking sing now? And he's like, wait, those aren't even the fucking words. But Hikaru keeps on going, and Yoshiki seems relieved. The sun is setting, and Hikaru says that before Hikaru died, he made a wish that he didn't want to make anyone sad, and he didn't want Yoshiki to be alone, and he granted his wish, which is why he's here. But he probably won't be able to see it through to the end, and he says he thinks he's going to return to the mountain. And then I have a note here that says this is almost a reverse best day of our lives field
100%.
trip from Hikaru to Yoshiki, and instead of real stabbing him in the heart, he's metaphorically stabbing him in the emotional heart.
Yes, 100%. That is exactly what this scene is. And when they're in the water, you can see on screen with the screenshots, friends. Remember that you could watch this on Spotify as well and on YouTube. He is standing in what looks like what he is. The water has the same kind of blobbiness that Hikaru is. Hikaru is the monster. Yoshiki is so close to that. Obviously, the mixing has happened quite a bit, and we're getting to the point where we're trying to wrap up small things, I guess, and then get to the major overarching part of the storyline, which I assume is going to be what the mixing actually means. I just really like the imagery in this scene altogether.
It is really good imagery because they even have the fucking line there too, like the metaphorical line in the sand of like where the waves in the water is breaking onto the shore. Either one of them could easily just step over to the other side.
Right.
Yoshiki is surprised, but Hikaru says he keeps attacking him lately and that his true colors are coming out, and he wants to fill his empty parts, so he craves souls. And humans wouldn't understand, and he thinks he's been like this the whole time. And Hikaru is like half Enigma, half Hikaru now. He says he's killed a lot of people, and he might start killing again, but he doesn't want to kill Yoshiki. He says if he goes back to the mountain, things would be peaceful for the rest of Yoshiki's life at least. Yoshiki is like, you can't go back. Why did we do all the research? And Hikaru says the monster will go away, and now you can accept Hikaru's death, and you move on with your life and live happily ever after. And then I have a note that says reference to the child fairy tales Hikaru was reading in the library, question mark?
I think so.
Yoshiki is like, I thought you wanted to stay here. And what about that half of you that you gave me? And you're immortal, aren't you? And you can ditch that body whenever you want. And he gets aggressive with Hikaru. Hikaru is like, I don't know. And Yoshiki is like, see? We don't even know how it all works. And we have a POV bang shot as Yoshiki is talking. And Yoshiki says he can't go along with such a reckless plan. And he has moved over into the water, which means he's ready to get fucking 50-50 mixed by Hikaru.
He's getting mixed up pretty hard.
He's not even holding back. He's just like, hit me with all the mixes.
Yeah, he's just, mix me up, bro. Just fuck me up, dude.
Hikaru is like, but it's the only plan we have, right? It might not be the right plan, but then Yoshiki interrupts and he's like, fuck that. We don't have to do what's right. And Yoshiki is like, can you just not care about that stuff? And looks defeated. Hikaru says real Hikaru's favorite food was watermelon, but his is ice cream. He prefers Papiko over Gachi Gachi. And he's probably a cat guy and likes movies. And not a single movie he saw was boring. And Hikaru hated schoolwork, but he loves it. Yoshiki is starting to freak out, but Hikaru continues and is like, to you, I might have been a replacement for Hikaru, and it flashes all the places they've been to. And despite what I am, you gave me so much. And he says he loves Yoshiki. Maybe not in a romantic or friendly way, and it's probably different from a human emotion, but that's truly how he feels, and not as Hikaru, but as the monster. And Yoshiki is losing his fucking mind.
He's fucking wide-eyed, fucking crazy eyes. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I'm not gonna lose my friend twice. Let's just go back to shore and, like, talk about this, please.
Yoshiki drops his hat into the ocean and thinks about all the things he said to Hikaru about him not having to be human, and thinks that he's the real monster here, not Hikaru. And he selfishly kept Hikaru around because being with him saves Yoshiki just the same. He thinks that he's just been passing the responsibility around to Hikaru in the village because he's desperate, but he's been doing it for himself. Hikaru is like, see you at the crossroads, Yoshiki. But Yoshiki is like, no, you aren't a replacement, and you're just giving up, and it's too late to move on. And he's busted his ass for Hikaru, and Yoshiki's insecurities are speaking from the water.
So, also, they use real lips for this imagery, which is weirdly unnerving. It's a 2D image of Yoshiki in the water, all red, like being his conscience or his internal monologue speaking back to him. And it's real lips, and it's fucking weird. It's very unnerving.
Yeah, I think they did a good job where they kind of reversed the monster thing onto Yoshiki from Hikaru.
I like
and
it.
Now you're just kind of like, I don't know, Yoshiki. I don't know if I agree with anything you're saying. And this is kind of weird. And then now you're kind of like almost fearing for Hikaru's safety over Yoshiki's safety now.
Yeah.
Hikaru is like, you think I'm okay with this? I don't want to go either. And he pushes Yoshiki into the water. Then Yoshiki gets up and is like, what was all this for? And then tackles Hikaru into the water. And Hikaru is like, that's what I'm saying. You can stop now. And I'm going back to the mountain. And Tanaka is standing there doing the picture finger thing, just watching this all happen.
Yoshiki kicks him in the fucking stomach like he's trying to fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin fucking power bombs.
Yeah, he like 300, like this is Sparta.
Yeah.
Like, just kicks him into the ocean.
Yeah.
Hikaru is like, you have to get rid of me. I'm the monster. And Yoshiki is like, no, I'm the monster. You don't have to be normal. And I've been hiding my real self so nobody finds out what I really am. And Yoshiki is like, I don't care if you're a killer. It's you and me, boy. He says again he isn't a replacement for Hikaru, and he doesn't want him to disappear on him, and sinks to his knees and says he's a selfish asshole. Hikaru starts laughing and is like, oh damn, that's how you really feel? Took you long enough. Now what am I gonna do? As he head pats Yoshiki. And Yoshiki is like, so you're not going to ... And then Hikaru is like, oh hey, the salamander is floating away. You gotta take that home or Hikaru's going to cry. And they both just stare off into the distance and Yoshiki says, let that shit float away. I don't need that shit. And I thought this was really interesting because basically Yoshiki is giving up everything for Hikaru. Mm-hmm. He's even willing to give up his family and his sister and everything just so Hikaru will stay. Mm-hmm. It's dark now, and they're just sitting on the beach, and Tanaka comes strolling up, salamander in hand.
Also, this picture is gorgeous. This is like a beautiful sunset, awesome picture. And then they have the picture, or like it zooms out a little bit. And he walks up with the salamander, and he's like, "Sup, fuckers!" And then that's the end of the season. That's how it ends.
That's how it ends.
Yeah.
I have a couple notes here where I said that this end fight reminded me of when real Hikaru and Yoshiki were fighting about who killed Crowley. Mm-hmm. Where they kind of did the same thing. They got mad at each other and roughed each other up, and then Crowley's dead body is just fucking...
Yeah.
just like rolling around on the ground. Yeah. But it's not even about Crowley. It's more about who was right, who was wrong sort of thing. And it wasn't even like Crowley dying. They didn't even fucking care, really. And I think that's the same as this whole thing, like where Yoshiki doesn't care about his family or anything like that. It's basically just these two. Mm-hmm. He's using either Crowley or his family and he said it, like the village.
He's been passing the buck this whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. Mm-hmm. To me, this is showing that, yeah, will literally do anything for Hikaru. And yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to what we talked about before with Yoshiki literally being a fucking kid at 15 or 16 or whatever, having to deal with a situation like this.
Yeah, it's an impossible, insurmountable situation, and no choice is the correct choice. There's never going to be a normal situation.
That was actually my second note. I think we all knew that Yoshiki was being selfish to an extent from episode 1, but he's just now coming to that realization, but might have been a little extreme calling himself a monster to an actual real monster, but also shows his age and the thought process of being 16, like during the stabbing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their communication is poor. He's an adolescent, and Hikaru is a literal monster that's been on this plane of existence for a year, trying to come to grips with all of this. I think it's a great show, showing adolescence, confusion, and a little bit of love intermixed with it. What did you give this season, Greg?
So just straight up to the rating.
Mm-hmm. I think we both gave it the same rating, I'll be honest.
I wrestled with this a little bit. And I think knowing that there's a season 2 kind of led me to this conclusion. Mm-hmm. Because, as I said before, there's things that I would like to know more about. They didn't give us in this season. But knowing that there is a second season, I gave it a 9.
Oh, I gave it a lower score than you did. Holy shit. I put my fingers up to show, but I gave it an 8.
I almost 10'd it. It's really good.
It is really good. I have recommended it to people as well.
It's almost a 10.
Visually, it's insane. The imagery in the show and the storytelling through just the imagery alone, it's so good. Please, for the love of God, if the director of Kaiju number 8 and the director of Go-Go Loser Ranger could watch this season and be like, yes, I remember why I made my shows. Please just do that. Like, it is a fantastic show. The only things that I would take away from it were the awkwardness of the questions asked and how difficult it is for people to really get in tune with this show. Like, and really get, like, their hands in the marinated chicken. You know what I mean?
100%. Because, I mean, animation, character development, story, to me, are all 10s.
Yeah.
I think everything was pretty much masterfully done. The only reason it's a 9, because my own personal feelings. And the reason why is because, I mean, the whole personal feeling category is really tough, because this isn't something I normally would watch, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. These kinds of shows have a lot of details that I feel like you have to pay attention to. You don't have to if you don't fucking want to. But for me, I feel like you have to pay attention to it. And you can just see in the amount of notes written, like if you just go over the past, whatever, fucking
Months
8 episodes of the podcast, right? Months of us doing this. The Hikaru section is the longest out of all of them for like every episode. And because so much is happening,
it's extremely dense.
Yeah, you need to be mentally ready to absorb all of the information.
When it comes to the awkwardness, it reminds me of a very famous movie from our childhood, Requiem for a Dream, where it is an incredibly fucked up story. You watch Requiem for a Dream and you're not left with a really hopeful feeling at all. This show has a little more hope in it, at least, but you tackle a lot of really difficult decisions constantly. And then you have elements of humor and in the elements of the absurd. I think they do just a fantastic job with it.
We said it in the beginning, like, this is something I don't think I ever would have chosen to watch on my own. But I'm glad that I did. And I'm glad that I watched it. And I will be watching season 2 of it. I may not put it in the main discussion just because of how much information these episodes contain. And the reason why my personal feelings are like a little bit lower is because I had to like prepare myself to watch it. Like, it's almost like Dark Souls. I'm sitting there making potions, like sitting at the fire, spending my little souls or whatever to like get my stats up and be ready to go into this next battle. Like, that's how I felt about Hikaru. It was a very large mental investment to watch this. Now, if you're into that sort of stuff, you're going to love it. And I'm not really into it, but I loved it all the same, even though it's definitely something that I wouldn't normally gravitate to.
I agree wholeheartedly. I give it an 8 just because I understand, like, my direction is more along the lines of whether or not I would be telling somebody to watch it with the thought process of heteronormative relationships going into watching something like this. I think people could feel awkward and not really understand it. But I loved it. I thought it was fantastic front to back. And like the first 3 episodes for me, I was like constantly brain churning, like, oh my God, like looking as deep as possible into every avenue.
I think the way that they did it isn't so aggressive to where if you weren't into that, then it would be something to avoid. Like, I think it was done tastefully. I think everything was done with a reason. And even if LGBTQ stuff isn't something you normally would watch as a genre, I would say give this a shot because I think they do everything very well.
I wholeheartedly agree. This is something that I would recommend to pretty much everybody.
That's the finale of season 1 of The Summer Hikaru Died.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Anime Book Club podcast. We appreciate you sitting with us and really dissecting these shows and bringing attention to something you might not normally see. We're here for community, camaraderie, and awesome anime. Thank you to Gamer Subs for sponsoring me, DJ Montague at checkout, for 10% off your order. Thank you to IT Aesthetics for the awesome shirts that we wear on our backs almost every goddamn day, because that's like half my wardrobe now. Tab C10 at checkout for 10% off your order. Check us out on the World Wide Web, theanimebookclub.com. Check us out on Spotify, where you're possibly listening right now. Watch us on Spotify. Check us out on YouTube. Anywhere that you would possibly be able to type in the Anime Book Club podcast, do it. Try it. Greg, have you made the dating apps for us yet?
Yeah. I think I've only made Grindr, though.
I mean, we did watch the summer Hikaru died. Maybe that's the best place for this episode.
Swipe left if you see us. Or
yeah,
right. Swipe right.
No,
left?
swipe right
which
means
side?
match. Swipe right means match. Swipe left means, oh, I'm good.
Oh, swipe right then, I think.
Yeah, swipe right
You know
hard.
what? Swipe up. And swipe every direction if you see us.
I think swiping up is super like on Tinder. I don't know what that does anymore.
I wouldn't know, but go ahead and do it.
We appreciate
Swipe
you
a
so
direction.
much. Swipe the direction that makes us connect. How about that? Friends, we appreciate you so very dearly. Greg, do you have some information for us? Maybe
I do.
Moral of the story?
I do have a moral.
I'm ready.
The moral is, if you are interested in something, go fucking do it. Go to a con. I feel like I am not a very good con goer. To be honest, I get excited, but then I also get very anxious and nervous about cons because of what we talked about at the beginning of the episode. But every year I go, and every year I feel the same. But then after everything is said and done, I look back and I'm glad that I went. I'm glad I met the people that I did. And even though, for me personally, it is a little nerve-wracking to go, I do it, and I have a great time. You should challenge yourself and do something that you may not feel comfortable with, and you will also like it.
Hell yeah. I was looking at the anime cons for Reno, which was SnafuCon, and it just passed as well, and I missed it. After Greg and I had talked about it, I was like, I need to go to a con. I haven't been to one in so long. Thank you again, friends. Have a wonderful day or evening or whatever it is you're doing right now. Greg, tell them...
Signing off.
Yeah, signing off. Red Leader, signing off. Anything else you'd like to say other than the normal?
Shout outs to my boy, Hollow Peace. Thank you for leading me, directing me, taking pictures of me.
Oh, you got pictures,
And listening.
Greg?
He took the aura shots of the IT aesthetic stuff.
Hell yeah. Okay. Tell them what time it is, Greg.
It is time to say goodbye.
Thank you, friends, for checking out the Anime Book Club podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
And if you don't want to miss the next one, follow us on the socials where we announce new episodes, content, and other cool stuff. You can also check out our anime list with our rankings and follow along with what we're currently watching and what we have watched in the past.
All the links are in the description. See you in the next one. Bye!